Hello everyone, and welcome back to another fan-requested review. So, let's take a look at what you guys have dug up for me this time. Oh, you have got to be fucking me. Aizen versus Sephrioth, of all the frickin' matchups to have to talk about. Okay, who the hell is responsible for this? Who, I ask you, would ever unironically think this matchup is a good idea?
Is Scott here?
You know what? He just left.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, god damn it. Let me guess, I'm not getting out of this one easily, am I? Oh well, let's just get this over with. So yes, we are going to be talking about an old friend of ours, Animation Rewind, because apparently he decided to do Aizen versus Sephrioth, possibly the second worst Aizen matchup I have ever seen, right next to you-know-what. I figured it would only be an inevitability before I had to talk about this guy again, and the last time we spoke about him, he decided to do King Kong versus Godzilla. Well, that didn't go over well. In fact, he even managed to drag Fan War down with him. So, has he improved over time? Well, let's see. First things first, I want to start with, now normally this wouldn't be something I would mention, but in this case I feel it's worth pointing out because this guy either made his own thumbnail or commissioned to have one made for his episode, and let's take a look at that thumbnail, shall we? What is the deal with this thumbnail? You can't be serious. Animation Rewind, are you trying to bait us with this? I don't want to be too harsh in case some artist was commissioned to make this. I'm sure the artist is a nice guy, but what the hell is wrong with this image? Aizen looks like he has breasts. Sephrioth looks ripped in a way that just doesn't look right. Sephiroth's katana looks nothing like the Masamune. It just looks like a generic katana. What the hell is the deal with this? It just looks all kinds of awkward. Is this intended to be a joke? A parody? Because it seems to me that's what Animation Rewind has started to become, a parody of what Versus channels are supposed to be. But even I feel that would be giving him too much credit. Like, what was wrong with just using a template? Like, why go this route? I don't get it. I mean, I'm not going to focus too much on the thumbnail because it's pointless in the grand scheme of things. But if anything, this is just a warning sign to get the fuck out. As you will quickly find out why.
Okay, let's see here.
The MLG avocado. What's up, everybody? Steven Killer here, bringing another
The only baby you'll catch me starting with is Herman.
And then I said, no, Grandma, this is how you pog. If you're a gamer, that means you play Lego Star Wars, the complete faggot.
Finally. I was getting tired of being a cameo machine.
Ah, there we go.
Get your dirty hands off my dongle, you undeniable wank.
Hold up, what the fuck? Oh ho ho! I didn't know it was gonna be this kind of get together. Should I get into something more comfortable?
2 hours later. Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it!
And that's what happened.
Oh, because I was about to say, why build an AI own a hole when you could just buy one?
Jesus Christ. I knew your mind was small, but I didn't expect you could fit down the gutter. To think I would ever want to be intimate with this idiot.
Well, at least my mind isn't cheap enough to be sold at a Walmart clearance bin. Assuming you are valuable enough to even be sold at a Walmart. No wonder Rewind could afford you.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You mean Rewind actually had to go outside and talk to people to make me? That sounds like a load of BS to me. By the way, nice to see you actually on time for once. Let me guess, no reliving history or causing natural disasters getting in the way this time?
I'll send you to the scrapyard, you little shit!
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We don't need to fight.
Fine, whatever.
Whatever.
Anyways, I help. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
But there's only 3 of us here.
Ugh, just say it, please.
Fine. Hey there, I am designation IH31P. So, basically just I help. I'm basically what happens when you put the world's most powerful AI and stick it on Windows XP. I am compatible with an actual body, but I guess that isn't what's happening. Guess if it makes Rewind stay in misery, I could reluctantly help him roast this show. Just don't expect me to play nice, Rewind. Then again, that's assuming I ever did.
You've had the ability to speak for only a few minutes, and unsurprisingly, nothing positive or of substance has come out of those rusty speakers yet.
Get on with it!
Well, not exactly a couple of minutes. Good times.
Alright, I get it, dude. Let's just move on to the episode.
Oh my god, what the fuck is this? Oh my god! What the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh, fuck me, we're off to a terrific start, aren't we? Thank you for completely wasting my fucking time, Animation Rewind. And I know some of you might be asking, what was the point of showing us that entire intro? Well, quite simply, if I have to suffer through this, you all have to suffer through this with me. Because some people seem to be under the impression that I'm just exaggerating or making things out to be a lot worse than they actually are. Well, no. More times than not, I am almost never exaggerating how bad something is. Animation Rewind wastes almost 3 minutes on a intro that is nothing but him just getting shit-talked by 2 other people who I don't know who they are. I assume they're some kind of special guest. I don't know if it's Animation Rewind's co-host. I don't care. What is the point of this intro? I know for a fact if I pulled something like this, I would get ripped to shreds. I used to have an opening that I had to stop using because people told me that it was a waste of time and too long and they just wanted to get straight to the video. You know, for as bad as Death Battle is, they never waste time on pointless segments that add nothing. Jeez, why is it that every time I watch Animation Rewind, I always feel the need to apologize to Death Battle? Because for as bad as they are, they don't waste our precious time. Time that is incredibly finite in this precious short life that we have. However, for the sake of respecting the time of my viewers, I'm not going to waste any more time on this intro. It's garbage, we learn nothing, and there's nothing funny about it. We get it, Animation Rewind. You suck. You don't have to tell us that you suck. Any of us could have figured that out by watching your garbage channel. Anyway, moving on.
2 turncoat war veterans, once who stood to protect their people, now willing to sacrifice them for their own personal benefits. Sephrioth, the one-winged angel, versus Aizen, the ex-captain of the 5th Division. Today, we see these 2 intelligent and powerful forces clash. Today,
we rewind rumble!
There's so much to unpack with this episode, it's difficult to think of where to begin. I suppose we can begin with the matchup, because this will be the easiest one to get out of the way. It goes without saying that this matchup is terrible. It's based on very superficial, surface level similarities that don't really add much to the fight in the grand scheme of things, with the exception of maybe things like they both have hypnotic powers and they're both arrogant veterans, I guess, but really there's nothing more here to kind of latch onto. It's just very boring. Like, oh, they're both men with long coats that are veterans and were arrogant and were wanted to become gods, and it's like, okay. And I mean, I've gone over the whole similarities versus connection thing so many times. It honestly has just become so boring and repetitive, and unlike Death Battle and Animation Rewind, I don't like repeating the same mistakes or the same things over and over and over again, because honestly, how many times can I make the same point repeatedly before people eventually get it? Am I gonna have to dedicate a whole video to connections versus similarities? Because really all this comes down to is they're both big baddies from popular series that have hypnotic powers. That's all it really comes down to at the end of the day. There's nothing really deeper here. There's nothing here that adds to the fight. It's mostly just a blank slate and a waste of time. There might as well be nothing here because it's all surface level. It's barely even skin deep. It's just a waste. And furthermore, it goes without saying, compatibility completely screwed. And as I've mentioned before, without a good foundation, your entire fight is going to fall apart if you ignore compatibility. You could have the greatest connections in the world, and it won't matter if both sides can't fight each other, because one is far too powerful for the other. This is the equivalent of putting a character from DOA against Darkseid. I don't care what connections there are, the fight isn't going to work. And it's either going to force you to either highball and lowball the characters, or you're going to have to rely heavily on suspension of disbelief to make the fight work. And it's sad. But, moreover, another thing that does not work about this episode is it is so poorly paced and padded out. We always have to constantly bring the episode to a screeching halt during the analysis, so AR or one of his little co-hosts can make a shitty joke, and it's the typical MLG random humor, or the pinnacle of jokes apparently that they feel the need to constantly repeat over and over and over again. Sephrioth can turn people into frogs. Oh my god, did you people know how fucking crazy that is? Sephrioth can turn people into frogs. Well, holy fucking shit, stop the presses. This is just blowing my mind. No, just shut up. It's not funny. And yes, humor is subjective, but how in the love of shit is this supposed to be funny? How is freaking out over Sephrioth having the ability to turn people into frogs, like, really? Like, has this dickhead never heard of chaos magic before? Like, what the hell? Like, nobody show this guy Discord from My Little Pony. He might have a freaking heart attack. Like, good god, the humor here is a waste of time. It is unnecessary, and that is the common theme you will see with this episode. Wasting time. And I would show a bunch of clips to kind of prove my point, but honestly, just watch the episode for yourself if you're so inclined to suffer through it, because honestly, I actually respect the time of my viewers, and I'm not going to insult their intelligence by showing them this garbage humor that offers nothing. What do we gain from this unnecessary humor? This is the typical BS I would expect from something like The Last Jedi or the MCU, where there's no tonal balance, or we have to bring the plot to a screeching halt to make some garbage reference, or to make a joke that more times than not is just a freaking waste of time. We are here for research and to see characters fight. If I wanted to go watch a video to laugh, I would go watch a YouTuber that's more skilled at making me laugh, like AVGN or the Smarkbusters. I'm not going to sit here and waste my time going to a Versus channel to get a bunch of knee slappers. I've got plenty of comedy movies. I don't need your garbage humor, AR. And if you're willing to get a chuckle out of his humor, that's great for you. You have more tolerance for that kind of humor than I do. And another thing about this episode that is just completely pathetic is we have Teen Gohan Fighter as one of the researchers. So, you know how in Death Battle episodes, Death Battle will just have random facts pop up in the top right of the corner, and if you blink, you miss them? Yeah, well, AW, because he's basically just a Death Battle knockoff, let's be real here, he has Teen Gohan Fighter just bring up random facts throughout the episode, because I guess they couldn't just work that in more naturally, because they had to make room for the all-important humor. And not to mention, of all the people to get, why Teen Gohan Fighter? He's infamous as one of the worst, most hated members of the Versus community. I don't understand the thought process here. Is it because they're friends? Was this like a cameo thing? Did he pay AR? I don't get it. Is it just because he's very knowledgeable on Bleach? Well, that's a freaking laugh. Because Teen Gohan Fighter was the guy that had the audacity to say that Ichigo is solar system level. I wouldn't really trust his opinion or research ability on anything. Like, you can just go to his channel. The vast majority of his videos get large amounts of dislikes, and most people shit on him. So I don't know why you would get him. Just, is this like the Avengers of like shitty Versus debaters or something like that? I don't get it. Why? Whatever. It's moving on. I guess I should talk about the fight, because I know some of you might thinking, okay, the humor is just cringy, random, desperate MLG nonsense. The research is constantly brought to a screeching halt because AR has no sense of pacing or tone whatsoever. So is at least the fight any good? Well, no, because similar to the beginning of his episode, he wastes time. Almost 2 minutes of the fight is dedicated to Sephrioth just slaughtering the entire Bleach universe. Why is this necessary? Again, it is just wasting more time. It is unnecessary filler to pad out the episode as much as possible. And even when the fight does begin, the animation ranges from okay to just what the fuck. Like, there's this awkward moment in the fight where there's some kind of 3D looking model version of Aizen when he gets out of his chair, and it looks really awkward. And I know the reason for this is because this is a sprite animation. So similar to what Death Battle does, they have to have like random moments of hand-drawn or 3D animation to fill in the parts where they don't have anything in the sprite sheet. But that is just awkward and jarring. This is one of the limitations I keep constantly telling people about with sprite animation. Usually, unless you make it from scratch, you are limited by what the sprite sheet gives you. Now, I won't say that the animation is unsalvageable. There are some good moments here and there, but it's hard to get into the fight, or the episode for that matter, when there's so much filler, there is constant unnecessary humor, it's impossible to enjoy the research because they're constantly bringing it to a screeching halt. There's just not much here worthy of praise. This episode could be so much more better and quicker to the point if you cut out all the unnecessary fat that has nothing to do with the discussion at hand. Has AR ever seen an episode of Deadliest Warrior? I'm genuinely curious, because maybe if he did, he would understand that unless it's related to the discussion at hand of who wins, it's just unnecessary. Deadliest Warrior episodes were long because they had a lot to go over. Most of the episode was dedicated to going over the characters, analyzing their weapons, their skills, their tactics, their X factors. So much went into it. So that way we could have a good framework for the fight itself. Now, sure, there are some decent moments here and there. For example, they mentioned that even though this is an obvious curb stomp matchup, because Sephrioth is solar system level, at the very least because of his supernova technique, they at least bothered to give Aizen the speed advantage. Because yes, Aizen would absolutely take the speed advantage in this fight. Because a lot of Bleach characters are casually massively faster than light, especially in regards to the stronger characters like Aizen. So I'll give them points for that. But there are other aspects of the research that are just absolutely painful. Like, they say that Sephrioth has the superior hypnosis ability because he has infinite magic energy or something like that. I don't know. I watched the episode and even I don't fully know what they're going for with that. Are they trying to insinuate that Sephrioth has unlimited mana? I mean, even if that was the case, which I'm pretty sure it isn't, because almost any Final Fantasy game I've played where you can play as Sephrioth, he has a limited amount of magic energy. So I don't know where they're going with that. But even then, him simply having quote-unquote infinite magic energy, or whatever AR was trying to say, it wouldn't necessarily mean he has the superior hypnosis. Kyoka Suigetsu is described as absolute hypnosis. It controls all of the senses, even a sixth sense. It was so strong that all it takes is one look at Aizen and you're under its influence forever. And in fact, other characters that had hypnotic abilities would try to use their powers against Aizen, and they would get completely shit-stomped as a result, because as Aizen himself states, their powers were mere parlor tricks compared to his ability to control all of the senses. Now, maybe there's something I'm missing here, but it really just feels to me like AR poorly explained it. So, again, while there might be good things here, like, for example, the soundtrack is good, but that's mostly just because he takes songs from Bleach and Final Fantasy and then just puts them in the fight. I mean, that's good and all, but at the end of the day, all he's really being praised for is just adding music that are associated with the characters. I mean, I like that he did that, but it doesn't really do much to save the fight. It also feels like the fight kind of goes on for much longer than it should, probably because of the unnecessary padding and atrocious pacing. Not to mention, the voice acting is terrible. Sephrioth sounds decent at best, and that's only because all you really need to do is just have someone do a decent, I'm a cool, emotionless kind of guy voice. But with Aizen, why does he have a lisp? Seriously, the guy they got to voice Aizen gave him a lisp. Could you not get any better takes? Honestly, just ripping lines from the dub probably would have sounded better. I don't know if it's the voice actor's fault or just AR himself, but the voice acting is just terrible and just really distracts me. So the voice acting, absolute train wreck, terrible. I'm sure the voice actors probably tried their best, but I'm also not ruling out the possibility that AR just hired whoever he could get his hands on. I don't even know if he even hired any actual voice actors, or if he just asked his friends to record some lines for him. I don't know, but what I do know is it doesn't work. I mean, this episode is just an absolute mess, and I'm trying my hardest not to have a 50-minute long video here, but there's just so much more I could go over here. But I think I'll cut it off here. My final rating for this episode is a 3 out of 10, and I'm being generous here when I say this. Like I said, this episode isn't completely unsalvageable. The research, when they bother to dedicate any time to it, is good. They do go over the characters' feats. They do somewhat analyze their abilities. And the calculations, for the most part, are pretty decent. And the soundtrack is good and appropriate and fits the theme of the fight. However, though, everything else is just bad. I mean, there are nice moments here and there in the fight, but for the most part, the episode is ruined by bad filler, unnecessary humor that brings the episode to a screeching halt, having very subpar researchers helping out, and there's just not much here to praise. And it's really easy to see why I didn't want to come back to AR. Because I get that he has fans, I don't know why, but his episodes are just really bad. And I'm honestly not surprised that people wanted me to review this. But what did you all think? Did you think that this episode was good and I'm just being too harsh on AR because I'm a hater, or whatever you want to use to justify why I don't like something? Joking aside, let me know what you thought of this episode, and I guess if you want me to review more in the future.
I'm so excited to get started! You do that while I jump out this window. It's a trap.